Hello, welcome to Paxton Road TV. This is Talking Points, episode number 50. I am Sam Spurs for Life, and we are going to be talking all things Spurs, rounding off what was an eventful deadline day. And we are going to be doing more soul searching, I guess, discussion, whatever you want to call it, as we Spurs fans do. Before we start the show, though, please, if you're watching live, hit that like button. If you're not watching live, hit the like button as well. Share the comments you want in the comment section below, and like and share and all the rest of that comments and stuff like that. So, good evening, gentlemen. This is what we're going to be looking at today. The transfer window. Has the Spurs squad been improved? I'm joined in the house, as always, Mike-Hotspur Hustler, Sean, Don P, and welcome in from Spurs Debate TV, a regular guest of ours, Josh. Good evening, gentlemen. Are we happy? Are we okay? Are we what we did? How are we feeling after yesterday's events? I'll tell you what I'm feeling. I watched. I was saying this yesterday. I've been watching AFTV. It's great. It's gold. It's absolutely gold. It's golden TV. I just thought I'd mention that anyway. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Let's not do any further. Let's go straight into it. Josh, I'm going to come to you first. Then, based on the topic of the show, has the Spurs squad been improved in your opinion?
It's a big question, Sam. That's the million.
I always start off with the big questions, mate.
I wouldn't say it's a simple yes or no. I mean, if you want me to rate the window, I'd say 7. I'd give it a 7 out of 10 based on what we've got rid of, what we've added, and I think this window takes us nicely into the next window, and I expect better things in the next window. And it is the summer, and that's when everyone does business. January is very difficult, mate. To get another team's top player to leave is not easy, and money is not, always the answer. So circumstantially speaking, where we're at, January, I give it a 7, and I would say it's improved the squad overall. But there are still areas that obviously we all know there's a few more gaps to be plugged. But I would say overall, yeah, we've strengthened somewhat.
Well, 7's a good number because I think between us yesterday, I think Sean was the poo-pooer yesterday in our show. I think nothing's changed from your point of view. I was giving it a 6.5. I think Mark might give it a 6.5. We'll come to you firstly then, Don. Same question to you. Has the squad and you don't necessarily have to give a yes/no answer, but in your opinion, how has the Spurs squad improved? If it has, in your opinion.
I'm not sure if it has, I don't think we can really say that if we're losing 4 players, 3 attacking players. Yes, you could argue that Conte didn't play them in his last 2 games. But that being said, if we really need them, if their game comes up, if we get injuries, etc., we could draw on those players. Now, I think our team looks really, really, really thin. I think Bentancur is going to be a very promising signing, and I'm quite happy that he's in the team. Excited to see him play, but I do think Kulu. I think it's going to be a while for him to bed in and settle in. So I don't know how we can categorically say that we have actually improved the squad. I just can't say yes, we have improved the squad.
That's fair. That's a fair point. Well, we've got is a bit of a graphic I'll put up a little bit later on, which shows the positions of it shows a 3-4-3 or 3-4-3, and it shows each position which players are in that position potentially that could start or be the backup. So it might change your mind. I don't know. I'm just going to come to this comment in from Mojo. Yes, it has been improved too. Excellent. Hopefully players in and the outgoings will be the best part of the window. So do you not think then, Don, that the players that went out, because those are the ones that have gone, Dele, Tanguy, Gio, Gil, apart from that, those other 3 didn't really feature that much. Do you not think players that didn't actually play and you bring in players that potentially are going to play the Conte way, does that not make an improvement in your opinion?
As I said before, if all being well and everybody's fit, then it's not so much of a loss with them with those guys going. But the minute that we start getting injuries or something happens with COVID, or anything happens where we need to look to our bench and to our wider squad, then I just think it looks really, really, really thin. We're still in the FA Cup as well. You don't know what will happen in Brighton. If we progress against Brighton, we're going to need a bigger squad. So I'm really concerned that when we look to our bench looks really, really thin now. So yeah, so I just can't see how we've actually improved it. Yes, you can say around dressing room harmony, but I just can't imagine those players really kicking up. They're not. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it was terrible. I don't think it was farcical at the training ground at Tottenham, like where they're really disrupting training. The only thing I will say is obviously Conte wants to imprint that he wants to have certain behaviors within the squad and everybody all working towards the same goal. And if you see Tanguy not putting it in on the training field and he's running half-heartedly, that doesn't set a good precedent.
Sean, what's your thoughts? I'm sorry, Don. I just wanted to come
No,
straight.
I finished.
What's your thoughts, Sean?
I suppose I'm kind of in the same corner as Don. To be fair, I think there's a massive. We've taken a massive gamble on these two players, and I mean it's the thing I've been reflecting on today is that the optics of PRTv going back to his old club, the club that he has the most, and saying, "Can we have some of your bench fodder to pad my new employers up?" Doesn't look very good, to be honest. And the only thing that's redeemed PRTv in my eyes is that he has managed to get players out, which he was not very good at doing at Juventus. I mean, he had a really bad reputation. I think he's taken a lot of stick in his homeland. I think he's the butt of many a joke in Italian sports media. But I mean, the positive, I think, is that unlike Don, I do think the shenanigans of Tanguy and Dele and well, so we're led to believe Gio does have an effect on the squad, and I think that's a good enough reason for Conte to say, no, I want people who are serious, and so that's a good thing, I think. But I'm a 5 out of 10 transfer window because it's a gamble, and it doesn't, and the optics are not good. Going back to your old employer to lift a couple of players.
Isn't any transfer a gamble though? Any transfer we bring in, isn't that?
Yeah, but if we went into the window, everyone was saying we needed to improve right wing back. Have we?
Or get another striker in.
Let's get into some more discussion because I just want to get everybody's viewpoints just to see where we are. Then we can get into a bit more. Mike, give me your thoughts on the window itself because I want to give my little bit of my thoughts as well, and then we can have a talk more.
I don't think we're weakened because my thoughts are if the players that Conte's got rid of are not useful to him, then what's the point of them being in the squad? I'd rather. If he's got two players that he's brought in and they're going to be useful to him, then surely that in itself is Spurs being strengthened because we've got players that are going to come in and Conte knows he can rely on them. He's brought them in because he's wanted them at Inter Milan, etc. Whereas the players we've got out, I mean, I think I saw somewhere, it might have been on Jack Pitt Brooks' tweet or something like that earlier today. I think the 4 players that have gone out, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they've had 3 league starts between the 4 of them. So that in itself speaks volumes. Regardless, I mean, okay, we could argue that if we were struggling with COVID or if we had injuries, we called upon them. But we've seen them in the team. What do they bring to the team? They struggled against Morecambe. They struggled against Mora. I mean, these 2 lads that Conte's brought in, I think. I know more. I know Kulu. I've seen him play at Parma quite a bit. I think he will hit the ground running. He's built to hit the ground running in the Premier League. I don't. Why do you
think it didn't work for him at Juventus, Mike?
Why do I think it didn't work for him at Juventus? Because Allegri coming in didn't, and obviously his age. I know obviously with Juventus at the time, they brought in better players. Well, they had been brought in better players at the time, but with someone that's only 21 years of age, we can't expect him to be the finished article. I've seen enough of him to know. Yeah, I think he's a good footballer. I think get Conte to get his hands on him, then we could have a great player on our hands. It's the same like you see like Winks. We all wrote Winks off. We all wrote Davis off. Conte's got hold of them, and look what he's done to him. He's got more than a tune out of Davis, because I was ready to say like, you know what, Davis can go, but Conte, whatever he's done with Davis, whatever he's done with Dyer, whatever he's done with Winks, if he can do that with them, then I'm pretty confident that he'll be able to get something out of these lads that he's brought in. And especially when Conte wanted him when he was at Inter Milan, so there must be something about him that Conte thinks, yeah, I can trust him to sort of come in and hit the ground running with Spurs. But yeah, I mean, time will tell, won't it? I mean, time will tell, and I could be wrong, and I could be sitting here, and I don't know, 18 months down the line, we could be like, yeah, Cooley was a terrible signing, but I just don't think that's going to be the case. I don't know anything about Bentancur. I don't know anything about him really, so I can only just say what I've read about him. But
so for me, what I would say is I think you touched on some points there, Don, about why didn't it work out for Kulusevski at Juventus. We could say exactly the same thing about Tanga at Spurs. You know, some players don't suit certain managers, some persons don't suit certain formations. Some players just whatever happens, they might just fall off, and it takes a move to kickstart a career. When you're 21 years of age, and I've seen enough of the clips and enough of the play from what Kulusevski, I'm just speaking of Kulusevski here, that this guy has got a lot more in him to go. You know, he's 21 years of age. From what you've seen, you can see his actual physique in itself for a left-sided player forward is exactly what we would want. You know, strong, ball carrier. He's basically a Mora, but a bigger Mora, if that's it, with less headlessness about him, if that makes sense, from what I've seen. So I don't think necessarily the fact that he wasn't playing at Juventus is going to be a marked problem, because like Mike was saying, at Parma, he was definitely pulling up trees at a very young age.
So he was very good for Parma.
So no, just to respond to that. So the reason why I said what happened to him at Juventus is because the comment that Mike mentioned. Mike said that he feels that he will hit the ground running at Spurs. So
that's up for debate. That's up for any player.
To see that's the bit that I was challenging. So I'm thinking to myself, normally, especially at that age, you're inconsistent at that age, aren't you? Unless you're. So that was my challenge. So yeah. You
could say that, but players are 21 years of Mike. Players are 20. We could look at. I know we're talking about the top quality. You look at Marlon and that. Those type of players, if they've got that sort of talent, they will get into the team and they will progress regardless. We can look at Oliver Skip on a more of a micro scale for us and say exactly the same thing. 20 years of age, 21, looks like he can progress. So I'm happy in terms of the signing because of the age, the profile. It's somebody that will fill a position, hopefully go straight into the first team. I don't know if he's going to go straight in and hit the ground running as we've talked about, but certainly in terms of a signing, he appears that he's going to be someone that Conte can rely on to play. He couldn't rely on the likes of Tanga. He couldn't rely on the likes of Gio, and definitely Dele. I think he just lost the love of being at Spurs. If I'm honest with you, he put out that tweet today, all the rest of it. If he really loved the club that much, he'd put more effort in. So I think we've got to give these players a little bit of time, and that's the problem I think we've got. But just on that, hopefully they will hit the ground running. But as you said, we never know. The question I wanted to answer, and I'm going to ask firstly, Josh, what are the positives? Because I know there's a bit negative and positives, but what are the positives? What are the even betterest in terms of the whole transfer window? I know we've talked about this right wing back. What positions do you think maybe should have been filled, or do you think there's going to be obviously more activity to the summer to maybe fill some of those positions better?
I think we have when we think of filling positions, we're not Man City, we're not Chelsea, we're not Oil FC. We haven't got Champions League. We've got a manager that's just come in. There's a lot of things to take into consideration when we compare our transfer window to Liverpool or these set teams where Moyes has been there 3 years, Arteta's been there 4 years, 3 years, Pep's been there however many years, and and Klopp and whatnot. So we're in a different place to a lot of our competitors in terms of where we're at in this development with the top manager, because we went with Nuno, unless we can all agree he wasn't a top manager. We've now got a real top manager in who knows what he wants. He's proven, he's done it. No one can argue with his record. So, you know, we have to take into consideration all the circumstances around the window and around Tottenham Hotspur, who we are, and why the likes of Diaz wouldn't want to play for us, why the likes of Adama might want to go back to Spain and play for Barcelona, because they're going to play him up top because they're looking for a striker rather than as a right wing back. So a lot of these attempts for players maybe weren't even right for us. And that was the case, you know. There's a good chance they turned around and said, thank you, but we won't be coming to Tottenham Hotspur, regardless of the money, you know. And you don't want a player coming for money. Obviously, we all go to work to earn money, but that shouldn't be the sole motivation for you to go to Spurs and play football money, because then you get a Tanguy on Ndombele, or you get a person that just gets bored of earning money, maybe Dele Alli. So we want players that want to play for Conte in his system, be universal and be flexible towards his commitment levels that he wants. He wants soldiers in there. So I look at all those circumstances, right? And for me, if we've got two players in that know Conte from Italy, that know PRTv from Juve and Conte, and they're happy to put their life and soul on the pitch, mate, that tops up to a 7 for me. Let me give you a stat about someone mentioned Lucas Moura. Kulu versus Moura, 15 goals and 14 assists in the last 3 years Kulusevski's got, and he's only played a third of the minutes of Lucas Moura. 15 goals and 14 assists, and he's only played a third of the minutes. So for me,
laughing at the comment,
that shows a player that I would say is not a signing of just a squad player of Juve. Look, I think one thing to make really clear, guys, is Juve is a better team than Tottenham Hotspur. Juve have a better squad than Tottenham Hotspur. So if we're picking up a squad player like Odegaard went from Real to Arsenal, it doesn't mean just because he's a squad player at Juve, we've got some sort of, average player. I don't believe in that. I believe the squad players of these bigger clubs. Listen, how many squad players have Man City got that would walk into most first 11s? We've got to realize who we're dealing with here. Juventus are a big club with a lot of talent. They spend a lot of money and they bring in some good players. PRTv and Conte know this because they've worked there. So if these are a couple of gems, like I've said, I've given some stats there. I'm excited, man, because if someone from Juve, who's a squad player, is going to walk into Tottenham Hotspur and he's got that level of kind of experience at such a young age, and these guys know him, they're not strangers. It's not Steve Hitchen that's recommended him. It's a man who knows this player, who's signed him before. And those are the reasons I'm saying it's a positive window rather than a negative or a neutral window. But that's only because I'm looking at the stats behind these players. And I'm more excited about Kulu than I'm about Benteke. And I know others are more excited about Benteke. He's a progressive passer for me. He's like a Winks. For me, Kulusevski on the right, behind the strikers. Mate, some of his XG stats match Dybala. He hasn't got the goals and assists at the end of it. But some of his other stats around the XG, attacking XG stats, and I love my analysis. I will try and base my opinions on analysis. They match Dybala, man. So that's why I'm excited, Sam, and that's why I'm saying 7, because it's not always about quantity. Yes, we're going to have injuries. We're not in Europe. Less games for once. The morale, I think, there's a cultural problem at Tottenham Hotspur with morale.
100%.
And the only way you sort morale out is get rid of those energy suckers, the leeches. We got rid of a few.
You only have to look what happens at Arsenal to know what happens if you keep players that are unhappy in the club, players that are kept against their will, not being played. And you can see they don't sign contracts. They just literally want to go, and they'll almost go for nothing in terms of wages and all the rest of it. So this is what I'm saying. The whole aspect of what we've done to get rid of that. And that was the bigger thing for me in this transfer window. I didn't think we were going to get any more than 2 players, but to get those players out that weren't actually contributing, that could potentially, as you said, be leeches within the dressing room environment, has to have a positive effect on everybody, because now we should have players who want to play.
This time last year, were we not a club that didn't know how to get rid of Deadwood? Were we not the club that held players for? We were a retirement home this time last year. So it's an improvement. 12 months, even if you're just looking at a short period of time of 12 months, it is an improvement. I don't think many can disagree with that over a 12-month period.
Can I just challenge something that you said though, Josh, or offer an alternative view to what you said around Juventus? You know, you were saying that we should be pleased because we're getting players from Juventus's squad, and Juventus is a big team and really very top team, etc. Better team than us, and we're getting their squad players, so that's not a bad thing, etc. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. They're fifth in Serie A. They've been on a decline for quite a while now, for a number of years. They're not Juventus, aren't Juventus what they used to be like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. They're a poor team, Juventus.
Even when
Really,
they had
They still got
Dybala
top
and
players, though.
Ronaldo in the team last season, they were. I
Well,
can't quite agree with that in terms of they were poor, because they weren't that bad last season.
Ronaldo's the reason they've been on the decline, I believe.
Yeah,
If you
absolutely,
that's the reason. One player, but that's again egos and
so
toxicity.
my point being, my point being the fact that Kulu and could get in the team ahead of Dybala, I just think is almost like a myth. He was okay a few years ago, but I haven't seen him do anything. He hasn't been pulling up any trees over the last 2-3 years. To my mind, I just think he's a name. That's just my personal view. But I just don't think, and that's why it's kind of like Juventus are almost kind of, do we want him? Do we not want him? Okay, he can stay. He might not stay. But Juventus aren't the same team. You look in the Champions League results.
One second then. So what I would say then, in terms of Kulusevski and Bentancur coming to, what Juventus have done very smartly, they wanted to get Vlahovic. They had to sanction that by selling players. So if they're going to choose players to sell, it's like if we wanted to get in, I don't know, Haaland, we'd have to probably sell 2 decent players to get the money to buy him. I would look to that side of things to maybe think, right, who's surplus to requirements if this player's coming in? Now, you're probably going to get rid of a forward if you're bringing a forward in, as opposed to a defender. So again, this is what I'm trying to look at the whole picture and not just say, well, he wasn't playing, he's rubbish, because they brought in Vlahovic.
Sam, 55 appearances in 1.5 seasons.
There you go. It can't be
No,
bad if you're 21 years of age. 21 years of age.
Who's you talking about, Josh? Those stats there, 55.
20 appearances this season and 35 appearances last season.
Yeah, how many of those 20 appearances were starts?
No, they're not all starts. You've got.
He had what? 2 starts?
Off the bench, starting.
Yeah, exactly. Stats. You can present stats a number of different ways. Yeah, you can make them to support your argument. But one thing that I will say that's positive and that I am very pleased about. Yeah, so I'm not always glass half empty. One thing that I'm really so I have to be fair and provide some balance. One thing that I'm really pleased about. I agree with Josh. There's definitely been a distinct change in our approach in terms of getting rid of players, and that basically tells me that Levy and Paratici is always going to back Conte, but Levy, very importantly, the person who really signs the check at the end of the day, he is really supporting Conte. Conte has said that he doesn't want these players in the squad, and Levy has swallowed it, forgot about the balance sheet, and basically got them at the club. I think that's a massive positive.
Talk amongst yourself a second. I've just got to sort some lighting out. Sorry, 1 second.
Okay.
Carry on.
Go, Mike.
I was just going to say, Don, do you think Levy, or do you think it's not a case that Levy has taken an actual back seat and just left it to Paratici now to run? Because if you look at since Paratici's come into Spurs, I think we've been quite cutthroat in getting rid of players, which to me, that makes me think that Levy has taken a back step, because we got rid of Dele Alli for free, which if Levy was in charge, I can't see us letting Dele Alli go on the type of deal that he has. If you look at Aurier, we got rid of him, we paid him off, which again, if Levy was in charge or if he was running the show, I can't see Levy sanctioning those sort of deals. So do you think it's a case that Levy's actually taken a step back, and this is evident because of? I mean, we've left. You argue.
No, I don't. Somebody like that. So somebody like Levy, he can't take a step back. He just can't. It's just you're not in his DNA. When I say a leopard doesn't change and stop, he can adapt. And one thing that I will say, and that's a good point that you mentioned, Mike, because it's not just Conte, because we did take a loss on Aurier and to some extent Sissoko as well. But he is back in Paratici and Conte. That's how I look at it. As He's backing those two individuals more than he's playing the back seat. As I said before, there is no way that Paratici is calling all the shots. He said to Paratici, you know what, you take care of all the transfers. I won't do anything. I'll just focus on the business. Everything that happens in an organization as big as Tottenham, as big as that PLC, has to get the rubber stamp of approval from the CEO. So he has to sign off on things. So he trusts Paratici.
Can I ask the question based on that philosophy then? Would you say that would be the same for Conte, Don? Would Conte have to answer to Levy in terms of picking the team? Because I don't.
No. But that's different. That's one thing.
So I would look. The only thing I would say about Paratici that might have, obviously, if he says to Dale, I've got this player, but he's 150 million he's got to spend, but then the valuation suggests it's 50 million.
Yeah.
If I was in this position, Dan Levy who's going to sign a check, I'd question it. But if he's identified the player and everything looks good in terms of the balance of the cost and all the rest of it, then you have to go with him. In the same way that Conte says, I don't want Tanguy Ndombele playing for me anymore, even though he's on 200 grand and cost the club 60 million pounds there or thereabouts, he's gone. So the decisions are being made, which doesn't sanction Levy getting involved, because Levy wanted this player, as we all know from the Amazon document.
But he has to sign off on it. He has to sign off on it.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my point. That's all my point. Paratici has to drive it. Conte has to do his recommendation. Paratici has to drive it. But ultimately, Levy has to sign off on it. That's the only point I'm making.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I want to then ask this, and I'll ask Sean this question then. Of the two players, of Kulusevski, of Benteke, which one of those players, in your opinion, is more likely to just walk into this first team? Or would both of them, or neither of them, given their fitness and all the rest of it? Let's just say.
Well, given Conte's long-term interest in Kulusevski, I would say it was Kulu who's going to be the player that's going to go into the team first of all. Obviously, they tried to get Conte tried to get him at Inter. I'm reading today that Kulusevski didn't think he had a place for him at Inter, and that's why he didn't take the move. So. Obviously, he feels that there's a place for him at Tottenham. Conte's obviously spoken to him at length, and so I would say him. He would be the one that will definitely work into the team. I think Benteke might have to get past my boy if I was being a bit cheeky. But no, I think him swapping places with Harry Winks. Yeah, so he'll get into the team definitely as well. But I think Kulusevski of the two is the one that's going to get into the squad, given Conte's history with him.
Mike, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I pretty agree with Sean on that. I think if we go, it depends on the formation he's going, but I think we've got, is it Brighton next?
In the cup, yeah.
In the cup. I wouldn't be surprised if we see us go back to a 3-4-3, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see Kulu start on the right hand side. It depends obviously if Son is back, and I know it depends on the injury, other players, etc., and who's fit and who's not. But yeah, I would probably agree with Sean. I think if out of the two, I think Kulu would start, just because we don't. Apart from Bergwijn, who else is there? That's a natural sort of right winger. I struggle to find a name really. I know you could argue maybe Mora, but I think Mora operates better centrally than he does out on the flank. So and with Ben Tancor, it's a bit of a tongue twister. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him to just come in and straight away walk into that team, because he's got competition with Højbjerg, Skip. As Sean mentioned, he's got competition with Winks as well, who, to be fair, Skip and Winks have been playing quite well. I think the competition for Højbjerg, I think that's probably what he needs. But it also gives them free rest as well. So, I'd go Kulu. I think it makes sense to see what he's about. It's less of a risk, isn't it? If you've got someone in the attacking third, it's less of a risk to start them than it is someone perhaps in the centre of the park, whereby you need someone that's going to sort of dictate the game or drive that tempo. So I think, Kulu would be the less of the two risks to start with. Let me answer
to the ball. I'll ask Josh first, and I'll come to you, Don. At whose expense then? Whose expense would Kulu start? I think I probably know the answer, but and whose expense would Benteke start if you had the choice?
Depends on the formation, I think, Sam. So if we're going to play 4-3-3, then obviously for me, Lucas Moura, on that right is where Kulu goes in, because he's played there before. But if we're playing the system with a striker, 2 strikers up with the man in behind, then Tanguy, Lo Celso with 2 potential creators, you could say, of the team. So he slots in there, and that's why I think he's been bought over those 2 going out with Delhi as well. All 3 of them were pretty much cams. And that's why I think Conte sees him, man, behind the strikers. He's got the engine to get up and down the pitch. From what I've heard, reports, very hard-working player. He gets back, he gets stuck in. And obviously he's tall, so he gives us a set-piece advantage. And let's be honest, we need that right now. Set pieces, defending and attacking. So I think Moura on the right. And yeah, those 3 I mentioned earlier that are now no longer with us, thank God, in my opinion. The 2 behind.
Sorry, Josh. Do you think we will play a 4-3-3? Because this is what, as he's saying here, we've played it probably a couple of times under Conte. Played a 4-4-2 under Conte. 4 at the back hasn't been his bag, but do you think there's a potential that he might change the system?
I think he's not had the players to play the systems he wants in certain games and change it up because he hasn't had the personnel. Yeah. And that's what this transfer window was about. It was about getting rid of personnel that aren't flexible enough for the team or the system that he wants to play in that moment, and getting in players that will work day and night for this man, and do a shift, do the graveyard shift if they have to, which getting back and everything.
From what I've read of that Bentancur, his ball retention is better than what we've probably got at Spurs at the moment. From what I've read, that's why. I'm guessing that's probably why he's been brought in, because of his ball retention. And he can keep the ball better than the 3 that we've got. I mean, Winks is pretty good, to be fair to him, at sort of keeping possession and retaining possession. But Skip and Højbjerg, you could probably argue that they're a little bit sort of way off.
Just one thing on those 2, Skip and Højbjerg. How many times this season have we said they need a rest? How many times have we said Pierre needs a break? A couple of games, or what's his name? Skip needs a rest. So we've got now in the engine room of the team, we've now got options which we didn't have, because you wouldn't bring on Lo Celso or Tanguy because they just weren't doing it for Spurs for whatever reason. He can do it for Argentina, but he wasn't doing it for Spurs, in that, whether it was a false 9 or behind the strikers or coming in for Højbjerg. So that's why I say 7, because I think we've actually been quite clinical in both positions that we needed help in.
And those 2 that he's brought in might suit the 3-4-3 formation better than what we've got at the moment. Which, when you look at it, Son on the left, Kulu on the right, Kane up top, and then you could find that Bentancur and perhaps Skip or Winks or even Højbjerg, to be fair to him. But that you might see that balance. And it might be like Bentancur might not be a great player, but I mentioned this, I can't remember, it might have been on Sid's stream the other day. Sometimes you just need the right player to sort of glue the team together, and Bentancur might be.
When we look at Southampton and Watford, last one was a win last minute. You could say we got lucky with that win. Southampton, the red card helped us. We got a draw. What options did he have off the bench, really? Chelsea, what options did he have off the bench?
You just had to look at the bench to see when we had some of the youngsters in there. There was no game changes. We hardly had anything to change the game. We hardly had it. And the fact is, that's why I think some of the substitutions were so late with Conte, because I don't think he had enough desire or enough trust in some of these players to actually make a difference, in my opinion. Let me just come to Don quickly. Don, in terms of those 2 players starting, who would you think would need to come out the team for them to start, in your opinion?
You're on mute, mate.
Mute, mate. That old chestnut Don. Come on.
Apologies for that. Winks. I'm not having Winks at all. This so-called massive improvement that look what Conte's done for Winks. Winks holds the ball. He's still crap. The only thing I will say about him, he's got a good attitude, so you can see why it's like managers, or when you're at school and you get a teacher like a kid that does everything well in school and does all the yes things, not necessarily providing the output, but does the right things. That's how Winks is. Yeah, he's just doing what the master says. He's doing what the teacher says. But he is terrible. Our ball retention under him. There has not been a single game where I could think to myself, you know what, Winks has really controlled the pace of that game. He's really dictated that pace. He's kept our ball retention going. No, he does not do that. That is not in his DNA. So Bentancur, I think, is the key player. I think we're dismissing the fact that he's played, I don't know, for the last 4.5 years, he's been more or less constant in that Juventus team, even though I didn't speak about it in the most glowing terms before. It's still a decent team. There's still a decent team, Juventus, and 43 caps for Juventus as well. I think Bentancur, and as Mike was saying, his ball retention skills is far superior than, from what I understand, to any of the players that we've got playing in this central midfield. So definitely him. I really do think that with Kula, though, I think it's going to be difficult for him to get game time. Call me naive or whatever, but all the reports that I've read about him, yes, he can be quite quick once he gets in his running, but he's stiff. As well as being, so he's not as mobile. You know, when you're saying like a bigger Mora, one thing about Mora is he's very flexible. And if anything, I think in this season, it's been one of his better seasons, Mora. Because normally I'm always having to go at him for running down blind alleys. But at least this time he's been playing a lot more with his head up. And he's had the odd game where you think to yourself, you know what, Mora's won us that game. So I think it will be harder for Kula to get that game time, especially if Son's fit and Bergwijn keeps his progression that he's had in recent games, because I've been very, very impressed with him in the last couple of games. That's my view.
I want to come to Sean because I was smiling all the way through that when you mentioned the Winks thing, and Sean knows the reason why. But before I come to Sean, let me just say a big shout out to Bob Spur who's watching. So glad to see you in the chat, Bob. Welcome back. I know you've been ill. It's great to see you. And hopefully on the mend, on the road to recovery. But yeah, thank you for being on this stream. Sean, would you like to say anything to Don P regarding Winks?
No, I mean it's opinions are like arseholes, as they say. We've all got one. But no, I do believe that Winks is now playing in the role that Pochettino first had him in the team, which is as a progressive ball player. I think, for me, if we're talking about the two central midfielders, Bentancur and Winks are similar.
Yeah,
Bentancur is possibly a bit. He's a bit more aggressive in the tackle, and he's got very good interception stats, from what I understand. And I see Pierre and Skip, fighting over their position. So that's how I see it lining up. It'll be those two if we're going with the two central midfielders. And obviously, sometimes he plays 5 in the middle. He only goes 3-5-2. So, he's got 4 to perm the 3 positions for him. But I think, we're all entitled to our opinion. I think Winks is coming back somewhat to his earlier form. I'm not saying that he's a world beater, and there are better players than him. And I think Bentancur is going to give him the right go for that position. But
I was looking for a little bit of a fight there. I was trying to get. No, I was only joking. Maybe
I'm a little bit tired after my late night last night. But
it's a hard job, though. It's a hard job you're asking him, Sam, to defend Winks like that. It's very difficult.
No, but we defend.
Not for me.
Don, don't get me wrong.
I will defend Winks. Yeah,
I was number 8. He was number 8 for a long, long time. That was his number. He was. That's what he was. But I will give credit where credit is due. The guy has improved in the few games that Conte's had him. He has improved. Whether that continues throughout the rest of this season and into next season, we'll wait to see.
Do you think you're getting any other top 4 sides? Do you think you're getting any of the top 4 sides, Winks?
No.
But we're not.
Do you think, Sean?
We're not. But at the moment, we're not top 4.
No, I don't think so. I don't think we're quite a top 4 side yet.
But that's what we're aiming for, isn't it? At the moment, in terms of their position, that's what we're doing. If we're trying to
graphic up now. Stop! If you're going to start fights, let me put the graphic up, and then we can talk about the teams. Here we go. Right, this is what I want to do. Now we can have a little look. So, I think the goalkeeper situation is sorted. I don't think there's anybody going to say that Galini's going to go above Lloris. Safe to say. We signed him on for another, is it 2 years or 1 year contract he's done? I think
2
it's
years.
2 years, which is brilliant. Okay, so the back three, if we're going to play this 3-4-3 system, interesting. Romero, Dyer, Davis. Is that our best back three?
On form for this season, I would say yeah, but I personally think Rodon's I think he's a better centre back than Davis, but I can't prove it because Rodon hasn't played much this season. But from whenever I've seen Rodon and Davis playing for Wales and stuff, I've always thought Rodon looked more sort of accomplished on the ball than Davis. But Davis, he's been playing well this season, so I can't. It's hard to say that's not our best back three.
I agree. I think it is our best back three. Davis, I criticised Davis almost as bad as Winks, probably sometimes even worse. I just can't believe. So if that's one person that Conte's really got into, I really do see the similarities between Davis and Azpilicueta, whatever I can't pronounce his name, from Chelsea. Yeah. Because Davis, I can't believe the change in his performance. He is consistently at least a 6.5 each game, whereas before he was like a 3-3-3. So sometimes he's a 6.5 now, and he's a 7. So for me, I think that's a massive improvement.
Go on, Don. Giving a man double figures, he's giving him twice as much. Josh, looking at that back three, if we had an injury, significant injury too, and we've had that already. Romero's been out for some time. We've had Dyer out as well. So we were struggling in that position. Are you happy then if Sanchez comes in, Rodon comes in, Tanganga, if them lot aren't playing? But okay, go backstage. I'm assuming that you would say that they are our first start. Yeah. Those three are starting 11.
100%. I think Sanchez has been good, man. I think Sanchez has been all right recently. I know people call him, link him with animals and call him whatnot out there.
Bambi on ice.
Yeah, he's a Bambi on ice or whatever. But he's done all right. The system's helped the players as well. I think the system's helped Davis and Romero, Dyer. Obviously, Conte's training, his game plan, his tactics, everything's showing up with these players, man. It's funny when you give someone instructions, you give a team instructions, and everyone does their job, which is what Conte does. He's very much into don't not do anything, don't be clever. These are instructions. Do what I tell you to do. Maybe Kane gets a bit of a free roaming, role. I think these guys have got instructions. They've got a template to work in, and they've all improved because of that. It's funny how when a manager knows what he's doing, suddenly players look better. But looking at that bench, it's still a problem. I mean, Tanganga's been Bambi on ice himself recently. We saw that against better teams. Chelsea just made him. I felt sorry for him. I was at Chelsea away.
What do you think he can improve? Because I've seen him play. He's played well before in games.
Yeah.
I do think there's a player. Maybe I'm being too optimistic. I mean, look, there's a player in there.
Chelsea away, that own goal, I was behind it. Look, he headed into Davis. What was Davis meant to do? You can't disappear. So it hit him and went in. Tanganga, all you have to do is hit that either side of Davis, and that was a clearance. But he's been a bit unlucky, but his positioning and I think his mentality, I think he himself is not decisive enough as a player. I think he gets stuck in two minds.
And what? I think it's the opposite. Josh. I think he has basically, especially after the Man City game when he was ultra aggressive against Sterling and things, it's almost like he wanted to use that same philosophy on everything. And I think he needs to stop and take a step back and not be so impetuous.
Like when you look at that Werner, was it the Werner goal? I can't remember who scored it. I think, no, not Werner, Ziyech.
Yes.
He's in two minds whether to go back or go with his man. And this is the difference between a quality, world-class Rio or Vidic or, maybe a Romero, hopefully. We'll see how it goes. They just make the right decisions more often than not. And I feel like Tanganga's decision-making is Jekyll and Hyde. It's Jekyll and Hyde, man. And how does a manager improve the mentality of that bit? Because that's you're getting into psychology now. You're getting into, picking the right in a split second.
But as a centre back, that is a large part of it. I used to play centre back. That was my position. But
reading the game.
Yeah, that's a big thing of it, and I think that can definitely improve. As age, that's why you see. If you look at most centre backs, they're much better in their later on in their career.
I think you need a pillar next to you, and that's where if you look at like Liverpool, what's his name? Van
Dijk.
Van Dijk, sorry, yeah. You look at Van Dijk, or you look at Diaz at Man City. I just feel Tanganga needs a very strong player next to him to learn his trade from a better player and make those mistakes.
That's the problem, though. You can't teach reading the game. You've either got it or you've got that ability to learn to read the game. You can't. It's difficult to, in my opinion, it's difficult to teach someone to read the game, and that's where I think you look at Sanchez. I don't think he can read the game. Tanganga can't read the game, whereas I think Rodon, I do think he can read the game. It's just if you go back to that Liverpool game, which I think was probably his downfall as to why he's not been given more game time, was it for Mane? I think it was Mane's goal last season. I think he was caught in two minds whether to attack the ball or let the ball bounce. He let the ball bounce, and obviously we can see the goal. But I think that's what our issue is, and the back line is.
But even that what you just said. But Mike, sorry to cut you up there. But even that what you just said there, he was in two minds whether to take the ball or to let the ball bounce. As a central defender, you always taught. Don't let the ball bounce. Yeah, it's not a decision to make. That's not, as a Premiership player, that's not a decision, a hard decision to make. It's standard. It's what you do as a centre back.
So what we have to look at is and I do agree with some of the points Mike was saying about, some players can't read the game, because this is why some players make better managers than others. Because if you just focus on your position, and Kyle Walker was probably a good example of that from when he used to play for us. Brilliant on that, but he couldn't really read the game. But he was so good at what he did in his position that he could recover and get himself out.
Do you not think he can read the game better now, though?
I was just going to add, because he's now playing with a better setup, with better players, with a better coach, he can be taught to be better. But if you still watch Kyle Walker, he still makes mistakes in that sense of position.
No, for England, though, I think you got to give him credit. For England, even for Southgate, he looks like he reads the game. He looks like he's not just doing it for Man City.
Is he playing ahead of Reece James at this moment in time? If Reece James is fit and Kyle Walker's fit, I don't think he is. Because I think Reece James is a better player. That's just going on for Kyle. I'm not. We could argue that point about them two players all day, but I still think that players who can read the game tend to be able to, like Dyer. I think Dyer is the reason why Dyer has maintained his situation throughout the whole of the managers that have come and gone, because he can read the game. His ability might not be at times as good as somebody else, but watch him. He leads everything. He watches. He knows where the line is. He gets players up to the 18-yard. Right, we're going to go up to set. Watch what he does. He's always marshalling. That's why when he's out, Sanchez cannot do that. Tanganga cannot do that. I don't know about Rodon. I haven't seen enough of him.
I just don't think Dyer. I don't. Again, Dyer. He might say read the game. Some of his decision making is so poor. Some of his passes that he makes. Some of the things I just think no, and decision making as well. If you know that you haven't got the ability to play that pass to your defensive midfielder when he's been marked tightly by, I don't know, a player or two players, don't make that pass. You can't just all put it down to ability. It's in his brain as well. So I just think to myself, yes, okay, in comparison to some of the other defenders that we've got, he might be a little bit better at reading the game. But trust me, he's not somebody that we should hold up as the holy grail.
I think his passing's got better though.
Yeah,
I think his passing's far better than what it's been like, especially long distance. And you can argue quite a lot of our attacks earlier in the season. I can't remember who analysed it, but someone analysed Dyer's passing in, I can't remember what game it was.
He has improved under Conte, Mike. He has improved under Conte. He has improved. Conte has improved him.
We're going to have to move off these defenders because we're not even got to the players who bloody brought in yet. I wanted to come to Sean. And I
don't get a chance to talk on the defence. Oh my God.
Nah, we've got to move on from the defence now because they're going to take, we could do this all day. Looking at the midfield four. The way this is put here, I guess it's midfield four if you look at the wing backs as being a part of midfield. I do agree with Royal, Bentancur, Højbjerg, Reguilon being the starting four with those others in behind. Or is there some, maybe flexibility in your head in terms? Because I think Skip should be a star, in my opinion. Maybe possibly even ahead of Bentancur and Højbjerg. That's just a personal opinion of what I've seen of him. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Josh has raised it earlier that we how many times have we said that Højbjerg looks done in? I mean, look at the concept. I think was it last season he only missed 7 minutes or something in the league, and he was they were like literally pouring him off the field into a bucket, I think I mean I do like Skip. I think and it's clear from what Conte said about him that he thinks a lot of him, and before him, Mourinho said nice things about him as well. So I think I would probably have Skip ahead of Højbjerg at the minute, just to give Højbjerg a rest. But I can't disagree with what that the way the graphic is set up there. Although it's interesting, isn't it? The Leicester game, the rehabilitation of Doherty. I don't know. I mean, I think Royal's got to be developed, but it is, that right. When you look at the right-hand side, that's the sort of glaring missing link, isn't it, at the moment? And obviously that is going to be addressed in the summer, I would think. But no, I have no problem with that thing. Although I notice that Bentancur gets ahead of my boy Harry, but yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough.
What are you thinking? Is as a midfield 4 or as a midfield 2 with the wing backs?
So was that for me, Sam?
That was for you, Josh.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear it. So midfield 4. Sorry.
Yes, the midfield with the wing backs.
I reckon. Look, the weakness is the right, big time, and I'm not going to say right wing back because it's probably been said a million times by every Spurs fan in the last 31 days or whatever it is. Where's our right wing back? Where's our right wing back? But I do think Bentancur, you've put Skip under Højbjerg, but obviously Skip, been playing alongside Højbjerg. Winks has been playing in a 3 with Bentancur there now. You could even stick Winks higher up. You could stick Højbjerg higher up because we've seen that for Denmark. He's got a pass and a shot on him, and you can make those attacking runs. Just gives us that flexibility having Bentancur in there to just dictate passes, the outball. We've always had an outball problem at Spurs since Modric and Eriksen went. Who wants the outball? Who's got the soft feet? I thought it was going to be Tanguy. Didn't happen. Who's got the feet to turn and find a man and play a little 1-2 and a little short pass? Also got the long pass over the top. Who's got that? Winks, to his credit, has been doing them long passes. I mean, how many times has he fed Kane? And if Kane had his scoring boots on, he would have had 3 or 4 more goals off the back of Winks' passing in the last 5 games. So Winks deserves a lot of credit for his long-range passing. So that's the 4 there, mate. You've definitely got the starting 4 there. Sessegnon, still expect more from him. We paid a lot of money for him, but, let's see what happens with him. I think he'll be dead wood next season if he hasn't improved. And obviously that right-hand side scares me because Tanganga against Chelsea got shown up because of the people in front of him, i.e. Royal. And we just don't have really anyone down that right unless Mora can start crossing, but the man don't cross. Mora don't cross, man. Mora does not cross. I'm surprised he crosses the road. So, it's a weakness. That right side is a weakness, and I think that's where the surgery has to be in the summer. But it's looking better. It's looking better than what we had. Imagine seeing Tanguy's name there, Deli's name there, the Celso, you're huffing and puffing. We've got something to look forward to now with Bentancur and Kulusevski. So, it's promising, man. It's promising. But that right-hand side, listen, Tuchel, the best managers will exploit your weaknesses straight away. Tanganga and Royal and Doherty, when he played him as an inverted, got exposed. The top teams expose your weaknesses straight away. And that's my worry is the better teams will say, right, target down that side. That's where you'll get your joy. Drag him to the left, open up them spaces. Tuchel did that all day long. And that's my worry, mate, is we're going to get...
Which in my opinion is why this guy is so important in terms of Romero. Because on this right-hand side, as I said, I think positionally these players get caught out. And I just think, as you said, it's a bit of a cavern around this area.
I think we're bashing Will a bit too much. Like, he's naturally a fullback, and he's being asked. He was brought in under Nuno as a fullback.
That's true.
he's now being asked to play as a wing back, which.
Yeah, but he comes from a country which has produced some of the best wing backs in the world.
And he was supposedly an attacking right back. That's why we got him ahead of Tomiyasu. That's the whole point why we purchased him, because of his attacking, his ability to go forward from right back.
The boy can't cross a ball, so I don't know what we've seen in that in terms of attacking right back. But
that's the reason why we went for him though, instead of Tomiyasu though. That is the reason.
That's a mistake. So something's gone wrong with that scouting, because if he's an attacking right back, what was he doing? What was his attacking ability? What did he do to show that he was an attacking right back? Because in my opinion, I don't know what he does.
Was he?
No, but if he was bought for an attacking right back, usually what I see from an attacking right back is get down the line, cross the ball, or get down the line, get in the box to try and get strikes and goal. None of which I see this guy do. So
in defense,
he's going to need some development.
He doesn't do it for Arsenal yet.
No, but we know that. But he's he's excellent defensively.
And I don't think Royal's too bad defensively for us. Although
no, he sleeps. No, he's not.
The problem
guys, he's got a responsibility in this system under this manager to do two roles, and the answer is he can't do both. So he finds himself in between. Reguilon shows on the left how to attack and defend over 70 minutes, and then he gets tired. This man gets caught. If when I'm looking at him and I'm looking at his performances, he knows he goes forward, and then he doesn't get back quick enough, or he's back and he doesn't get forward quick enough. So for me, he's still learning that trade, and I feel sorry for him. First season, new country, new league, the fastest league in the world, if you ask me. Big responsibility, big fan base, a lot of pressure, top 4 race. He should have gone Crystal Palace and learnt his trade, but he's in the big time now in a way.
Or in an ideal way, we would have just given him a bit more time rather than.
He's got a lot on his shoulders. I do have sympathy with the man, because he's just got he's a boy. He's 21, isn't he, or whatever he is? He's young. He's not even experienced. I mean, maybe we shouldn't have bought him. Maybe that should be the question.
You mentioned about Reggie. I don't think he's great defensively. He's good. He's better going forward, but I don't think he's great defensively. I mean, last season, how many errors did he make that went?
But he's better. He's been better this season defensively, I think.
I think Josh hit the nail on it. In a 3-4-3 though, you have to be able to do both almost equally as well. But if depending on how much possession we're going to have of the ball, will determine how much of that attacking or defending you've got to do. Obviously, with Chelsea and their wing backs, because they have more of the ball, they can be more attacking. They're further up the pitch. In our system at the moment, because of the players and because we don't necessarily maintain the ball, we're having to do a lot more defending. And this is where the problem with Doherty comes in. This is where the problem with Raw comes in on that right-hand side, because I don't think both of them, I don't see, people tell me that Raw's a good defender. I don't see it. I personally don't. He's strong and he can get in, he gets tackles in, but I want to see positional sense. You know what I mean? I had to see. Well, the thing is, I've seen too much of these. Too much of Sanchez having to dig him out, and Sanchez isn't very good in that position, so he's having to work. So again, the whole thing is unbalanced when one player doesn't do their job well. Hence the reason why in a rigid system like Conte's got to produce, you have to know your role. So
just on that, yeah. So this is why. So first off, in defense to Royal, I think his crossing is atrocious, is terrible. But especially early on in the season, he was getting in the right position. He was constantly our out ball. It was him on the right, and he was constantly giving our midfielders the options to make that pass. They might not have been able to make the pass, but he was always there. But what I will say now is this is why I think it's so important having a player like Bentancur, because the way this formation works in Conte's formation with the 3 and the 5 and the 2, it's not just Romero or Sanchez backing up Royal and Doherty. It's that right midfielder needs to come down and close down the space as well. So you almost you move almost like a team. It's like you move kind of like, like those games when you were younger that you used to move.
Nice dance you're doing there, Don.
But you have to. but that's what they have to do. It's almost like they're dancing with each other as the Tottenham players. That's why you need Bentancur, and that's why I think Conte's got someone like him, because he will play to instructions, and he will stay. So even people say, for example, Skip's had a better season. He looks more eye-catching. But I suppose for Conte's thing, and quite a few games this season, people have said, but why is he taking off Skip and left on Holberg? And Skip's had a much better game. It's because of that positional play thing. Way Conte sees football, he sees it different from a fan. He looks at who's plugging all the holes, and sometimes skips, leaves his hole, and leaves his position too much for Conte. I think that's my take.
We're gonna have to move off this midfield because what Mike has go on to the forwards for me. I think Kane stands alone in that sense. We've talked about, Conte's talked about Bergwijn probably being his understudy, and probably Son could be that. But if we just look at the 3-4-3, if we look at what's on there, would you say that Lucas is ahead of Kulusevski at this moment in time then?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, was that to Tom?
That was for Mike first, then you can come in, Don, after that.
Yeah. The only question mark for me is just on that right flank. I honestly don't think Lucas is. I think he's far better playing centrally as a number 10. I think he can turn a player when he's in that position in the middle of the park, in that number 10 role. When he goes to receive the ball, he can turn a player for fun. And once he's beaten that player, he can cause havoc because the opposition don't know what he's doing. And I think Don P mentioned it earlier. The only problem is sometimes he runs down blind alleys and he's a bit of a headless chicken, so even his teammates don't know what he's doing. But I think he's lost out on that right flank. Whereas Kulu, as he's been playing for Juve and even for when he was at Parma predominantly, he was playing out on the right flank. So I think the balance out of that three, if you've got Son fit and playing, you've got Kane, I think the balance would be Kulu in my eyes. And Lucas, I think Lucas would be the one that potentially would drop to the bench. And I mean, if Kane gets injured, we've seen Bergwijn can do something up top. So I suppose in the games where we're comfortably winning, why not try Bergwijn, give Kane a rest, and put switch it over, put Bergwijn up the top, and give Kane some much needed rest as and when we can. But
because his injury date's coming up soon.
Well,
we're into February now, and he's not had it yet. So I'm seeing that's coming at some point soon. What I wanted to do, because obviously with this team, we could do this all day. We could get the ins and outs. It all depends on personnel available, players, being fit, suspensions, all the rest of it. However, this now is the question for the last part of the show, which I'm going to ask to each of you, and I'll start with you, Sean. Is this squad good enough this season to get top 4?
It is, because no one, there's no one is really tying down that little 4th place. It is only just 4th place we're looking at, But I think we're going to come up short. I'm really hoping that the 2 boys from Juve, and I as I say, as a follower of AS Roma, this is going to stick in my throat. But I hope they hit the ground running, much like Kufal and Souček did for West Ham, and really improve them. I hope that there are, that there are marquee signings which actually, make sure that we camp out on that 4th spot and get into the Champions League. My gut feeling is that we're going to finish 5th or 6th, and we're going to be in the Europa League place at the end of the season. I just think Man United's depth of squad is better than ours, and that could be the difference.
Fair point. Mike, good enough for top 4?
Yeah, I think I probably agree largely with what Sean just said. I think the squad's good enough. When you look around us, West Ham haven't really improved, strengthened the squad. Arsenal have done the opposite. It is on paper. I mean, Aston Villa, they're the only one. Do you know what? We don't mention them enough, and I think Villa's done some great business. And under Gerrard, they look like a decent football team. So they'd be my only sort of. I'd throw them in as dark horses who we might just need to be a bit wary of. But yeah, I think the squad's good enough. I do think we've got the squad's good enough. We just got to be lucky, and the same with the other teams. It's just going to come down to whether we can avoid injuries to key players. If we can do that, then we stand a good chance of getting that top 4. Yeah.
So good. So Sean's just not quite there. Mike's in the camp. Don?
I think I'm not really having West Ham.
Good. I'm glad of that.
Villa have got too much. The gap's too big. They've got too much distance to come, so they're not going to make it. United are a funny team because I don't think Rolex Ralph really knows too much what he's doing, but they're kind of bumbling their way to getting their 3 points, and they've just got that United luck about them. So they've been picking up points. So I think they probably have to be favourites. However, I'd be disappointed if we're not challenging. That being said, I think that we're going to struggle against obviously other top teams, and also to break down some of the teams that we think that we should be beating because of our lack of creativity. And you guys keep saying how it's wonderful that we got rid of these 4 attacking players, but I think that the chicken is going to come home to roost at some point towards the end of the season, when we're going to be looking at our bench and all we've got is those 4 defensive midfielders, and when we look at the bench, there's no creativity on there at all. But I hope I'm wrong.
I like Don's opinion a lot. Josh, what's your thoughts?
For me, I want United to go far in the Champions League. They've got Atletico coming up. That's a difficult game, man, especially away. So I'm supporting United in that round of 16. Please win so you can take your eyes off the prize. West Ham, please go far in Europe for me as well. I'd love that. Maybe pick up a couple of injuries. Not that I mean harm on anyone, but I'm not going to complain if one of their strikers or someone's out. Arsenal haven't strengthened in the window. I'm shocked they didn't bring in a lone striker. They didn't bring in maybe another midfielder, a DM. So I'm looking at it, and if United and West Ham, listen, Chelsea might get dragged into it too, but if United and West Ham go on a European run, by all means, please get to the finals of these competitions so you can take your eyes off it. Then we can sneak in there, guys. But for me, if United and West Ham come out of their respective rounds, then it's game on, because now everyone's got the same amount of games, obviously the FA Cup, and everyone's got a bit of rest. United have the best squad, you could argue, maybe attacking wise. That's a good debate. I'd still say we're slightly better attacking wise. West Ham without Antonio, obviously Bowen's been doing it, but how long is that going to last? And Arsenal without their midfield firing, they'll struggle. So I think we're best placed if those two go on a run. But if they don't, I think we're going to have our work cut out, and I think we might just miss out. But, if someone was going to bet me for it now, obviously I'll back my team, but it's going to go down to the wire, man. I literally think it's going to go down to the last day of the season. It might even go down to goal difference for the first time in God knows when. So it's a difficult prediction, man. But what a race, and it's nice to be part of it for once.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to go down to very, very much the last couple of games into the season. However, our difference maker, if you look at the managers with the teams up, David Moyes aside, you've got Arteta, you've got Wreck-It Ralph, and you've got Conte. Of those managers, do you know what I'm saying? I'm going to trust Conte every day of the week. Given now that he's had a mini preseason in this international break, given now that he's got rid of players that he cannot rely on, given now that he can kind of introduce all his flaws, because he went 9 games unbeaten with the squad that he had, with all the problems that we had. It looked at one point like he said to himself, you know what, I don't know if I can get any more out of this lot. He was almost resigned to that fact. I think that might have changed. The fact that he's been able to get Romero back now, Dyer's back in the squad. Touch would we keep Kane and Son fit, because I think those are essential for us, but they're all looking like they're fit. A bit of wood, touch on that. I think we've got an 11 that can definitely compete with Man United, and we've got a better manager than Man United. Man United, because of their depth, is my only concern. If we have some significant injuries, I think they pip us because they can bring in a more strength and depth. But we've only got 1.5 games a week because we've got the FA Cup until we either win it or we're out of it. So there's no reason why Conte cannot manage this team through with those players that we've already looked at to get that top four, because he likes to have a condensed squad as
Do you
well.
know what, Sam? All the teams above us don't have a Kane and they don't have a Son. Now, Ronaldo
100%.
will tire. Ronaldo will tire. He's 37 years old. And Champions League, if they play him, which they will, because obviously who doesn't want to win the Champions League, that man's going to tire, right? Cavani, he's going to tire. Rashford, on and off. Greenwood, he's behind bars, mate. He ain't playing no more minutes this season.
Can't even talk about that. Oof,
yeah.
anyway.
So strikers. If you go attack for attack, that's where we win it for me. But where we lose it is in the same place, because if we lose Kane, so we've got no one off the bench as well. So
and our defense and midfield. If you got to admit, our midfield is poor. I don't.
Don. Let me just come, because Don always just throws them at me. Are you saying then you would rather have McFred than our midfield? Because that's all I've got to ask you. Because that's the midfield that we're comparing against. Because Man United are the competition for me. Now, if you're telling me that you'd rather have McTominay and Fred, then we can't talk anymore.
No,
our midfield is better than that.
Of course not. But it's how you define midfield, isn't it? You're talking about what you're talking about is central midfield. Yeah, you're 100%. Talking about central. You're talking about central midfield. Those two players. But if you look at Fernandes, as much as I say to him he's greedy and he's whatever, blah blah blah, he'd absolutely walk into our team. Yeah, there's no one. Even a Sancho, even a bloody probably off form Sancho at the moment will probably walk into a bit arguable, but stand a chance of getting into our team. Rashford, they've got a good midfield. They've got a good midfield. They've got a good midfield. What they're poor at is that they're defensive midfield.
Remember, Donny van der Beek's now gone. Remember,
yeah, no, they still got good thing. They still got Lingard as well. They've got a good midfield. They've got a good midfield. I'm not going to think their midfield is strong. Their defensive midfield positions are terrible. Yeah, McFred and they're terrible. But then what have we got? We've got Winks and Holberg. It's not like we've got a Basuma or something where I can say to myself, you know what, I don't care. That DM, he's the guy, he's the linchpin. I hope Bentancur can be that person. So that's all I'm saying to you. It's in roundabouts. But I agree with you. I agree with you, Spurs for Life. I agree with you, Sam, that our X factor is Conte, and we've got Conte, and they haven't got Conte. And I think towards some of those close games, it might come down to him. That's what's given me that little bit of confidence that we might get there.
If Conte's happier now, which I hope he is, I think we'll see that ability to drag the team through, because he's got players that will want to drag themselves through.
I would have been happier if he had got his first choices. I would have said yes. Conte would be over the moon. Everything is thinking, but ultimately, I know that he hasn't got his first choices. Yeah, I'm not saying that he didn't want those players, but they weren't his first choices. So we'll see what happens.
Choices were though.
Pardon?
Who do we think his first choices were, apart from Diaz?
I think it was Diaz and Troy. I think Troy was for what we needed for January. Why are you saying that? If he didn't go to Barcelona, he would have come to us.
Why didn't we put a bid in for him in the beginning, like when we first?
We bid £15 million for him.
But why did we haggle for 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks?
Because it's Levy.
We don't even know if we actually put an official bid in for Traore. It's just hearsay.
Okay. All right. Wait. I think as a Tottenham fan, I think you're being one-eyed all of a sudden if you're going to all of a sudden say, "Oh, we didn't want him anyway." Oh, it was because of Ryder. We might have done that. We might have done that. But to say that we didn't want him, I think is a little bit disingenuous.
I think we had discussions early set, but I think that's where it ended. I don't think Conte wanted it. Otherwise, we would have put in a concrete bid right at the beginning when talks were done. So we wouldn't. It's with you look at Kulu and Bentancur. We wanted them. We put bids in. The business was done within. No.
I'll tell you what happened with those players, Mike. So if that's the case, if we didn't want Traore, you're saying then that we didn't want a right fullback or a right wing back or anybody on the right. Is that what you're saying? Because he's the only player.
Traore's not that guy.
He's not that guy.
He might not be that guy. What I'm trying to say to you, though, is that the only player that we've gone for, and everybody knew that we wanted to upgrade on the right-hand side. Diaz is left, yeah? On the right-hand side, yeah? is Troy. He's the only person. Adoma, he's the only one that we wanted to go for on the right side because that's who bloody Conte wanted.
I'm so glad we didn't get that player. I'm so glad.
Would have had him at the
Pardon?
beginning. If Conte wanted him,
Oh
as
my
soon
God
as we had
almighty.
negotiations, we would have put him
No,
in. We would have put a bid in, a concrete
no,
bid.
We didn't pay the money.
Hustled 15 million when he's up for 20 million. We'd have paid
Because
that
that's how
20
we
million.
that's our transfers. We never
No.
bid,
So
we
you
never give
think-
people what they want. We never
Son,
do that until the last
you-
minute. The only reason why we did that with the two Juventus guys is because we got embarrassed by Liverpool over Diaz, and we were scrambling round. It was day 29, or in fact day 29 out of a 31-day window. We couldn't go any slower than that, Mike.
I think we
We
should
have
do a
to do
part
it.
two.
I
We're
think
going to have to do
you-
it. Gentlemen, listen.
Juve had to balance. Juve had to
you
balance
think-
their books, man.
Okay.
They had to balance their books.
Juve
They
had
bought
to balance their
Vlahovic.
books.
I just said they bought Vlahovic. They had to get rid of players. That's the reason. They had to get rid of players.
And there's no way that Conte, why would he gamble on Traore, who's built like a quarterback, to play as a right wing back? When he's
That makes no sense to me. That makes no
Make
sense.
it make sense. It doesn't.
And
why would
I
we put
agree.
a
That
15
Traore
million
made no
And
sense.
why would we put a 15 million bid in when he's 20 million? 20 million is not a big amount of money. If we're paying 19 million for Bentancur, why are we going to hustle over?
Because that's Levy, and he's got track record, history.
Hold on a second. I
If we've
thought
got another for a show, I can
Hold
tell
on.
you all the
Hold on,
transfers.
I'm not a word
If we
in.
just
Let
bid
me-
another
Hold on,
3 million or 4 million, and we'd have got that player.
Sean, say your point. Say your point.
I thought we'd agreed that Levy had taken the hands off.
Exactly what
No,
I was
he
about to
approved.
say. Now we're
He
backtracking.
signed,
You're
as I said
contradicting
before, he
yourself.
co-signed. He writes that
You're
check.
killing me. You're killing me,
He
Dominic.
signs.
You're contradicting yourself. Is Levy?
I'm not.
This needs a part two. Listen, time out.
I'm
Time out.
consistent.
Look, Josh wants to go now. He's had enough of this bloody Paxton lot. They can see it.
No, it's Spurs debate.
It's nice to be watching.
Oh, that's
It's nice
true,
to be
though.
watching.
Spurs
Nice to be
debate.
watching.
He's actually called Spurs debate, so that's actually a very good point. We should do a part two on this one. I think us five should get together again. Because Don, you've done something today. You've just boiled people up. It's like, yeah, we're ready now. I'm ready to go on this Traore one. I want to talk about Traore.
I'm happy to discuss Traore.
And he scored it 7 out of 10.
Who scored it 7 out of 10?
You did.
When did I score it 7? I scored it 5 out of 10. Look at the recording. 5 out of 10. The transfer window.
Jesus
I didn't
Christ.
make a score
I
this
gave
week.
it
This week.
6.5. I gave it 6.5.
Okay. Yeah, 5.
Make that Traore one make sense to me. Nobody can make it make sense to me. I'm sorry, they can't. No matter what
I'm
they
not
tell
having
me,
it.
they
I'm not
can't.
saying
I'm
I
not
can't see Conte gambling on a right winger to play a right wing back. He might as well just leave Will there.
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause they're no better than each other.
Shall we do a part two at some point? We'll have to find a
could do.
show where we can do. But Josh, please tell the viewers where they can find you. That'd be really good. So we can spring them.
Connect after all of that.
You love it, Josh.
All of that.
You love
I'm
it.
still recovering, mate. I'm still recovering, mate. If you want a calm, relaxed, nice conversation about Tottenham, come to my channel, Spurs Debate TV. I mean, yeah, come to the channel. Find me on Twitter, Spurs Debate UK, not TV UK. Someone's nicked my handle on that one, but Spurs Debate TV on YouTube. And yeah, I do analysis on players and post-match analysis on every match within a couple of days. So after all the shoutings calm down and the anger's come to my channel and get some nice analysis to relax you and crack on with your week from there, man. But yeah, thanks for having me, Sam. And definitely, I look forward to another one of these, mate. If it's Levy and Levy out, I'm ready, mate. As well.
Oh, you know what? We got to get on this one. This one's good. Don P, I know you're part of our Paxton Road TV family, but tell the viewers where they can find you because they're going to want to find you, even if it's to tell you what you're talking about.
I'm also on.
What are you talking about, Traore? That's where they want to find you.
I'm also on Insta, just Don_P8.
Nice.
Don_P8.
Okay.
Mike and Sean, you're already all over the place. So they can find you all over the place. Twitter, and more Twitter and Instagram as well. So I'm not going to ask you to. But this has been lively. I like these ones. This is the ones I like. When it's like, oh, hold on a minute, not having that. I like that one. I'm not having that. But anyway, gentlemen, just got a few more comments here. MisterK saying, big up, Josh. We've got here from Toxic Kula and Bentancur will transform the team. See, Don? They will transform the team.
I hope that is the case. I hope I'm proved wrong.
Very, very true. That's been good. But no, gentlemen, in all seriousness, that was really good. It was a little bit longer than I thought. Like I was tired, but I'm not as tired anymore. I think my adrenaline's just arisen, just gone up levels. But anyway.
You just say the words Adama Traore.
But anyway, viewers, if you enjoyed that, that's short, but it's certainly tempered debate is what I'd call it. Yes, please hit that like button. Also go and check out Josh on Spurs Debate TV. Fabulous channel there. He's got lots of insight. Good guy as well. Good guy. We only have good guys on this and good girls as well.
So can I just say one thing, Spurs for life? Sorry. Mike Clark. Does everybody know who he is? Yeah? Commentates on Tottenham. Mike Clark.
I don't know.
Okay, you probably don't know. He was on Sky Sports. He was on. Anyway, do you know what? Carry on with your conclusion. We'll save it for part 2. We definitely need to have a part 2 because I want to finish this debate or continue this debate.
You're gonna finish out. He's gonna be the champion of this debate, and he's gonna walk out with the belt. I can see it.
Don wants to be heavyweight champion of the world on this one. He does 100%. But no, that was really good. Really, yeah. Lovely. Like I said, make sure you hit that like button on this before you go. If you're new to the channel and you haven't already, hit that subscribe button as well. Paxton Road TV. We'll be back towards the weekend. Have we got a game this weekend, haven't we? FA Cup? Or is it?
Brighton.
Right, is it Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday, 8 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Typical game.
Man, a Saturday game. That's great.
Saturday night.
Fabulous. That's kind of good because we ain't able to. Oh, yeah. What was Mr. K still in there? Leave it for Tall 2K Don. What's this about? Good show, good channel. Stuart Austin, thank you very much. We like that. Someone's saying about Try being a champion. What's going on? Oh, my
WWE, that's what he said. WWE champion.
Talk to Don. Leave it for Talk to Don.
Let me just get this comment off. My screens are getting messed up here. But last one. Come on, you Spurs. I think we can end with that. Come on, you Spurs.
Yes.
Definitely 100% come on, you Spurs. Right, guys, that is enough of that. We'll reconvene for part 2 at some point. I can take a breather now. Get myself a drink.